والصلاة والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى. أما بعد، فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ونزلنا عليك الكتاب بيانا لكل شيء وهدى ورحمة وبشرى للمسلمين. صدق الله العظيم. Surah Al-Nahl of the Quran, Surah number 16, entitled The Beast. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the God of Adam alayhi salam, the God of Abraham alayhi salam, the God of Moses alayhi salam, the God of Jesus, the God who Jesus worshipped alayhi salam, and the God of Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, he said, and we sent down the book, namely the Quran, sent it down on thee, O Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, in order that this book might explain all things. And therefore that this book might explain the strange world in which we live today. The sun has never risen on a stranger world. That this book might explain the strangest thing of all in this strange world of ours. That strangest event in history, when Banu Israel, the Israelite people, who had been given the Holy Land, that the newspapers like to call Palestine, the Holy Land, and who had been expelled from that Holy Land by Allah Himself, and then had been prohibited from returning. They can come back as tourists, but you cannot come back to reclaim the Holy Land. For some 2,000 years, in its strangely scattered diaspora, suddenly, strangely, puzzlingly, mysteriously, mystifyingly, inexplicably, enigmatically, Banu Israel returned to the Holy Land to reclaim it. And a state of Israel appeared on the map in the Holy Land. Only this book can explain it. And in this book, there is guidance. Guidance does not come from any other source, only from this book. That explanation and that guidance has come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as an act of mercy and kindness, rahmah. And for those who have the good sense and the wisdom to go to the Quran and search for that explanation and guidance. And when they locate it, to accept it and to embrace it and to apply it. Bushra lahum, good news and glad tidings for such people. They will understand what others cannot. And they will succeed when others will not. We praise and we thank Allah, most kind, we glorify Him, and we pray to Him most humbly for His guidance and for His blessing and for His protection. As we attempt to address the subject, this awesomely important subject that all will benefit from listening to, Jerusalem in the Quran. Indeed, this has been the subject of my latest book, which I've just completed, Jerusalem in the Quran, Allahumma jalla jalaluhu. Jerusalem in the Quran, an Islamic view of the destiny of Jerusalem. This book has appeared in Penang about 2 weeks ago, and then in Hong Kong last week, and now Singapore. So we are using this opportunity, in fact, to launch this book in Singapore tonight. The subject begins in the Quran with a man named Ibrahim alayhi salam, the Prophet Abraham, who was thrown into the fire because he had the courage to proclaim the truth in the face of those who clung obstinately to falsehood. They threw him into the fire. I know an island where maybe he would have got a cane. But over there, they threw him into the fire. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was so pleased with the servant of Allah, who had stood up so courageously for the truth, that Allah spoke to the fire and ordered the fire to be cool for him, to keep him fit. And then after that, the Quran declares, وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ وَلُوطًا إِلَى الْأَرْضِ الَّتِي بَارَكْنَا فِيهَا لِلْعَالَمِينَ. And we delivered him to safety and took him and his nephew Lut alayhi salam to a land in which we had placed blessings for all of mankind. We took him and his nephew Lut alayhi salam, the Prophet was, to a land in which we had placed blessings for all of mankind. This is the introduction in the Quran to the Holy Land. If blessings were placed in this land for all of mankind, then it follows therefrom that it must be for mankind who are living a particular way of life. But then the Quran takes up the subject after Banu Israel have been brought to the Holy Land. Ibrahim alayhi salam is now living there. And Ibrahim alayhi salam is tested. Take the mother, take the baby, take them out there in the desert, leave them there. No food, no water, no shelter, no security. The modern world would say that this is something irrational. But Ibrahim alayhi salam, once he is aware that this is the word of Allah, he submits. Whether he understands or he does not. Whether he is comfortable with it or he is not. Once it is the word of Allah, he submits. And this is for all of us present who believe in the one God. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested him a second time. Sacrifice your son. The modern world would say this is an irrational act. But not Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ya bunayya, he says to his son, Inni ara fil manami anni azbahu. I have been commanded in a dream to sacrifice you. Fanzur madha tara. Now, son, what is your response? I'm ready, are you? And so whenever he is tested, he passes the test. Whenever we are tested, do we pass the test? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then conferred upon him a status. إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا. I hereby appoint you as the Imam of all of mankind, which includes, of course, the President of the United States. I hereby appoint you as the Imam of all of mankind. Now, I hope you would agree with me. If he is the Imam of all of mankind, then his religion is the religion of all of mankind. And therefore there can be only one true religion. And so we reject from this platform the claim that all religions are true. And it is a measure of tolerance that you accept that they are all true. We reject that because he is the Imam of all of mankind. And therefore there is only one true religion. And it is the religion of Abraham. The Quran addresses Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and declares to him, ثُمَّ أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْكَ, and then we reveal to thee, O Muhammad alayhi salatu wa sallam, أَنِ اتَّبِعَ مِلَّةَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ حَنِيفًا. You must follow the religion of Abraham alayhi salam. So now we know that Abraham alayhi salam is brought to the Holy Land and settled in the Holy Land. And there are blessings in this Holy Land for all of mankind, indicating for all of mankind who follow the religion of Abraham, the one true religion. The Quran then takes up the subject many years later, after the Israelite people had been taken to Egypt and had lived there for some few centuries and had been then enslaved in Egypt by the Pharaohs. And we don't have the time to give you that story, that interesting story tonight. And then Allah raised a man and commissioned him to go and struggle to deliver the Israelite people out of slavery in Egypt. This is the Prophet Moses alayhi salam. And he came with the truth, and Pharaoh rejected it. He came with signs from Allah. Pharaoh rejected them. He warned him. Pharaoh disregarded the warning. Pharaoh persisted in his arrogant disdain for the truth which had come with Moses alayhi salam, and clung to his own theory that he was the truth, and that his authority is the supreme authority, and that his law is the highest law. Sounds familiar today, doesn't it? And then when the moment came for the final showdown, and Allah ordered Moses alayhi salam and the Israelite people to flee. And then Pharaoh pursued them. And now the Israelite people, to use that quaint English expression, when they're almost to the sea, they were between the devil and the deep blue sea. Pharaoh and his army behind, and the deep blue sea in front of them. And so the enemy must have been rubbing his hands. We've cornered them now. We're going to finish them now. And this upstart who dares to challenge us, we who are drunk with power, we're going to finish them now. But Allah planned his plans when they planned their plans. And when Moses alayhi salam reached the water, then Allah ordered him, strike the water with your rod. And then Allah parted the sea. If he could do that yesterday, guess what you can do tomorrow? وَإِذْ فَرَقْنَا بِكُمُ الْبَحْرَ. We parted for you the sea. فَأَنْجَيْنَاكُمْ. And we delivered you to safety. وَأَغْرَقْنَا آلَ فِرْعَوْنَ. And that arrogant upstart out there who dares to challenge Allah's sovereignty and Allah's supreme authority and Allah's law behind His law, we destroyed it. وَأَنْتُمْ تَنْظُرُونَ. And it happened before your very eyes. And so now they are in Sinai, not the hospital in Manhattan. And then Moses goes up the mountain. Allah calls him up the mountain. And there he receives the Torah. But it came down, the beginning of the Ten Commandments in stone tablets. And then he came back down, and of course you know the story about the golden calf and so on. And then Moses, alayhi salam, he now gives the command to Banu Israel. He says, and this is Surah Al-Ma'idah, يَا قَوْمِ ادْخُلُوا الْأَرْضَ الْمُقَدَّسَةَ الَّتِي كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ إِلَى آخِرِ الْآيَةِ. O my people, come on, let us fight, let us enter, let us take control of the Holy Land which Allah gave to you. If this is in the Quran, how come we don't hear them talking about it? How come the New York Times does not spread it on a full page? Sounds suspicious, doesn't it? There is a reason why they would not touch the Quran. Come on, let us enter and take control of the Holy Land which Allah gave to you. This is Surah Al-Ma'idah. But when they were given this command, and they came to learn that the people who lived in that land were a powerful people, Goliath, for example, they didn't have a stomach to fight. So they responded to their prophet and said to him, "Oh no, we're not going. You and your Lord, both of you go and fight, we must stay right here." It is difficult for us to conceive of a people behaving so shamelessly, so insultingly to the prophet who is their prophet.